Really appreciate it. With Thanksgiving coming up this week, happy pre-Thanksgiving to all of you. Um, and also, I want to make sure that our medical team knows how thankful we are for them, for the tremendous job that they've done for us each and every day, keeping us safe and allowing us to continue to practice and play. While we're disappointed that we couldn't play Saturday, the most important thing to me is the health and safety of our student athletes and our staff, and also the health of Coach Loxley and his players. And I wish them a speedy recovery and a speedy return to play. We use this week to recharge, to try to get more healthy, to really focus on technique and fundamentals, and ultimately just grind here at State and in our football program. We're excited to play Northwestern. They're a good football team. They're very well coached. Pat's done a great job with them. They have a top-ranked defense. Their quarterback rating is a lot higher than it was a year ago, so they're doing a good job there. They have a veteran team. They have a lot of seniors, redshirt seniors starting on both sides of the ball. And I can see why they're having a lot of success. We're going to have to play complementary football in order to have success this week. We've got to take care of the football, and we've got to run the ball efficiently so we can have balance on offense. And obviously, we have to make some plays in the passing game. We want to end every series with a kick, whether it's preferably an extra point, if not that, a field goal attempt, and then if not that, just punt the football and play field position football. We have to give our quarterback an opportunity to be successful. That's in protection. That's with the offensive line, the tight ends, and the backs all doing their job in a coordinated effort. But we're very excited about this opportunity to play a great football team coming in here at 3:30 on Saturday. So, and I really appreciate you guys coming out today. And I know it can be a little weary on these Zoom calls, but we really appreciate it. So I hope you and your families are doing well and staying safe. And with that, I will open it up to questions. We're going to have a normal week. We had a normal Monday practice. We're going to have a physical practice today and Wednesday, and then we'll have a deload, no sweat Thursday, and we'll have a fast Friday. Then we'll take it into the game, and that's our plan. Obviously, this is not a normal Thanksgiving for us, for anyone, because of the COVID pandemic, and so behavior modification and doing the things that we need to do, that we know we need to do to give us the best chance to be safe. We're gonna do those things, and we're gonna follow the CDC recommendations in terms of gatherings and things like that. So, that's how we'll approach it. The sacrifices that our players and our staff have made throughout this time has been tremendous. I talked to them in the summer about it not being a sacrifice, but being an investment in our team. An investment in yourself individually, and an investment in our football team. But there are challenges, and our players and our staff has done a formidable job. Just really just leaning into the new normal and what we've had to deal with. Every day in terms of trying to train, practice and play, and coach in this environment. And so we've managed to stay neutral and understand what the facts are and what the truth is. And then based upon that information, what do we need to do to give ourselves the best chance to continue to practice and play and to develop as a football team. And so, there's been tremendous investment in this football team from our players and from our staff. Yeah, I believe we had a team meeting about 10:15 a.m. We announced the cancellation of the game to the team, and then we designated Thursday as the day off for the players. And then we came back Friday with a walkthrough focused on Northwestern. And then we came in Saturday and had a spiders practice, which is basically shorts and helmets. And we did that, which it had a Northwestern emphasis. And then the last 30 minutes of that practice, we put the shoulder pads on some of our younger guys and some of our twos and our threes so they could get 3 periods of padded work. It was more physical, and just, obviously working to develop our roster the best we can. Then Sunday was a mandatory day, but it was more of a recovery day. So we had mandatory treatment as usual, and then a mandatory stretch and stride which was an intensive stretch and stride, and then we had mandatory yoga for our players, and then we started Monday in our in a normal week.
Did this extra time give you any more clarity on the quarterback position, or does that continue to be an ongoing thing here this week as well to determine who starts?
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing thing this week. The clarity comes in terms of just reinforce. It's just a reminder and it reinforces that competition, okay, is what this is all about. And there's nothing set in stone. And everyone's got to compete. And it doesn't have anything to do with what you've done in the past. It's what you've done, most recently, and you're not as good. You're only as good as your next play. That's the world we live in. That's the nature of our game and our existence. And so, we have to prove ourselves every day, players and coaches, and that's part of our culture, and we've got to embrace that and lean into that. And players and coaches that embrace that and lean into that and understand that and take pride in, consistency in performance, having a chip on your shoulder every day, proving yourself every day, and willing to compete. When you have enough guys like that, okay, then that's when your culture you start to cement your culture, and then you want competition. You want competition. You welcome the competition. You want to play good teams, okay? And you do have a chip on your shoulder every day, and you do feel like you have to prove yourself. That's where we're working towards. And so when you have a couple of extra days to prepare, that's just more time to hammer the culture.
Hey, Mel, you're kind of at the midpoint of the season, but it's been still less than 2 months since you guys had your first padded practice. When you look back over the last 2 months, what are maybe some of the things that you've learned that you were uncertain of heading into it, just because you weren't able to do the kind of things you would have expected to do in a normal year?
Yeah, you learn. I've learned more about the team. The staff. We learn more about our players and what they can do and what they can't do, what they do well, what they don't do so well. Just the personality of the guys. Typically, you find that out in the out of season conditioning program that leads up into spring ball, which is a very, very rigorous, very taxing time when you really find out about players, their willingness to strain and give effort and to finish and compete. And that's where you start to form your team chemistry. That's where your leaders evolve. And then obviously when you have spring ball, you have 15 opportunities over pretty much a 5-week period of time to practice, to install your schemes on both sides of the ball and special teams, and see who the guys are that love football, that want to run, that want to hit. And that's when there's a lot more pressure that's created, and there's also always in the game of football there's pain involved. And so with pain and pressure, that's usually when you start to find out the character of your team and the character of the individual players. And so we had an intermittent type summer where you find out more, but obviously with COVID and some of the protocols and having to go into quarantine and things like that, we pretty much needed to wait until we started kind of the preseason camp, those 20 plus practices we had, to really actually find those things out. And so midway through the season, we have a much better indication of who we have, in terms of our roster, what guys can do, what they can't do, or what they're not willing to do. Who loves football, who wants to be here, who's on the fence, who's in, who's out. We have a pretty good indication of that now, when typically, we would have known that coming out of spring ball and would have been able to make those adjustments on the roster at that point.
And, coming off obviously a good Indiana team, and now you get the West Division leader and followed by the East Division leader. What's the next 2 weeks going to tell you about where your team's at and where it needs to go for the future?
Yeah, we felt good, going into the Maryland game. We feel like we had a good week of practice. And so now we're looking to put together another good week of practice on top of that. And obviously, Northwestern's a strong opponent, and they've got a really good team. They're balanced, offense, defense, special teams, and they're very well coached. Pat has done a great job, but for so much, regardless of who we play, it's going to be about what we do and how we play, how we take care of the football, how we convert on third down, how we run the ball, how our coverage units do on special teams, how we, get a body on a body in the return game and give our returners some room to make something happen. And then we need to build on what we did in the second half against Indiana defensively with holding them scoreless. We need to build upon that. The things that we did in the second half are things that we need to do for 4 quarters. We need to start fast and finish strong. So we're going to continue to find out more about our team. But, it's not just about evaluation and finding out. It's about, playing winning football. And so, that's what we're looking to do.
Mel, again, happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hey, you mentioned the periods of second stringers and third stringers on Saturday, a couple of periods of that, more physical. I think you said on the radio show it might be some scrimmaging too. Can you give us a couple of names that might have impressed you on that day? And also James Ohanba is a guy that's kind of crept into the playing group a little bit. Can you talk about the progress that he's made also? Yeah,
James is, he's worked hard. He's a guy that has, he has pretty good athletic ability. He's got lower body flexibility. He can bend. He's got some strike. He's heavy-handed, and I think he's starting to figure some things out. And that's why you're starting to see him, starting to flash a little bit and show up a little bit on the field on game day. With some of those younger guys that that are showing up, there was nothing really of note there. We just got so many guys that are out there, just running and hitting and showing what they can do. The one thing that you do see that sticks out is, maybe with a guy that's not necessarily happy with what his role is, okay, and then he gets put in a situation where he's got an opportunity in front of all of his teammates to really show how much he's improved out throughout this time and is not ready to do that. And that always happens, okay? And then you also see guys that are chomping at the bit, to get that opportunity to go out there and compete and hit and strike and really show, prove, what they can do, in front of all the coaches and all of the other players watching. And we saw some of that. And again, so it wasn't a live scrimmage to the ground because we just basically had the shoulder pads on the helmets. We didn't have the lower deal, so we were able to stay up. But it did sound from the way that work sounded, from just, it sounded like there was some football being played out there, which is good because when you do have teamwork going on, offense and defense, you got 11 on 11 and guys are hitting, it should sound a certain way. And we were kind of pleased with, just the tempo of that and the type of striking and blow delivery that we were seeing out there.
All right. Thanks a lot.
they're fundamentally sound and they play hard and they play physical, you know, and they play complementary football, you know, and they're you know, they're in the top 10 in the country in turnover margin. It's not that they don't give it up, because they have turned the ball over in terms of fumbles and interceptions, and there's some other, you know, turnover worthy plays that I've seen on tape. But they take the ball away. I think they have 15 takeaways in 5 games. And so with them being plus, I don't know, 7 or 8 in the turnover margin, you know, that's huge, because it gives you an opportunity to win. Even if you look at the last game, I think they were +4. Wisconsin turned the ball over 5 times, and then they won by 10. So, you know, they have a like I said, if you look at their roster and their starters, you know, you even look in their fronts, their defense line, they got 3 seniors. Their linebacking core, they got 3 seniors. In their secondary, they have a senior and 2 juniors. You know, and if you look at their offensive line, you know, they've got 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a true freshman who may be their best player. You look at the tight end position, they got a grad transfer. The running back's a junior. And then they've got some seniors up front. You know, they got a grad transfer quarterback. They got a senior, you know, they got a senior receiver, 2 senior receivers, and they got a senior slot receiver. You know, so it's a veteran team that has grown, that they've added a better quarterback play to the mix, which is a big difference in what they've been able to do offensively. And they're very well coached, and they're physical, and they believe in what they're doing. They believe in their process. Okay, you can tell they're built in the weight room, and they're maximizing what they can get out of their guys. You know, and that's the key, is to, you know, develop your guys so they can reach their full potential. And you can see that with their team, that they have older guys that are playing at a high level, and they're getting the most out of the guys that they have playing as a football team. And because that, they're able to win as a team. They're able to have success. That's what they're doing. You're gonna get it done no matter what as a staff, and we're going to get that done. We're going to get the message across, and it's going to take hold. When your older players, when they buy into it and they believe in it, and they're actually carrying that message for you to the rest of the team, then the process actually accelerates. And so I do see some of that with some of our older players, just understanding that, you know, you know, it takes what it takes. And if we want to change, you know, if we want to change the trajectory of our program, then we have to change our behavior. And what we've done in the past is only going to get us what we've gotten in the past. And so, average, you know, hovering around 500 type of deal, that requires a change in behavior. It requires a culture shift, and it requires a different type of mindset. And that's what we're hammering, but that does not happen overnight. Okay. I wish that it did, but I know that it doesn't. And so, but I do feel like our older players, they understand, because when you hear something that's truth, you know, when you hear something that's truth and it's backed up by fact, you know, and it's laid out in a digestible way, in a progression that's very, very understandable, it resonates with people. And it makes sense. And at that point, then it's just a matter of choice. We're going to do it or you're not going to do it. And we talk about the illusion of choice. And if you want to be successful and you want to be able to compete at a high level, okay, then you really don't have a choice. Choice is an illusion. You're lying to yourself. If you want to be good and you want to be among the best, there are certain things you have to do day in and day out, on the field and off the field, and there are very few choices. There are very few. There's a difference between choices and options. Option is when you go over to the cafeteria and you say, hey, listen, do I want chicken, or do I want beef, or do I want this? Do I want a salad? Do I want this? Do I want a chocolate chip cookie, or do I want oatmeal raisin cookie? Or do I just want to get a Jell-O deal, whatever? Those are options, okay? When we talk about football and being successful and building a program, all that, we don't have options, okay? And the choices are very limited. They do a really good job with their run fits. They're rarely out of position with their front, and their linebackers are coordinated, and they have very good perimeter run support, out of their secondary. They have good size and stoutness on their up front, on their D line, and they're able to create. They're able to change the look up front on the reduced side or on the bubble side with some run pressures, some first, second down pressures that are good against the run and good against the pass. And then they have confidence in their corners and their safeties to be where they're supposed to be. And there's oftentimes when they line up, depending on your formation, that the deepest guy on the field on defense for them is 8 yards deep. So they want to make sure that they want to make you one-dimensional, stop the run, and then challenge you to throw the ball over their head, and that's work for them. And then that they've done a great job on defense, and the defense coordinator is one of the best in the business. Obviously, he's done it. If you just look at his resume, everywhere that he's been, and all the great coaches that he's worked with, there's no doubt that he knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of seniors that have been in his system, and you can see that they've grown through spring ball and and just the experience that they've had, and they just don't beat themselves very much. You're gonna have to make plays. They're not just gonna give anything. You're gonna have to make plays.
Thank you.
Our last question goes to Chris Slar, the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Mel, on the other side of that, for you guys at running back, we saw Ant Williams go into the portal the other day. Where are you guys at that position in terms of juggling carries? Do you still want to try and get to one guy and balance it out? And also, can you kind of assess what they've done, not just with running the ball, but how you guys have used them in the passing game to maybe replicate some of that?
Yeah, right now we're probably not going to have just one guy carry the whole load, and we never really wanted it to be that way initially. So we're going to share the load at running back with those guys, and obviously the running back position, you got to be able to run the ball, hit the hole with velocity, have vision, understand where the power of the play is, and where we want to hit, where we want to run the ball, scheme wise, and be able to hit it, and be able to get yards after contact. You need to be able to make guys miss, and be able to sometimes get some yards that are not there. Okay, also you need to be able to. You would like a guy that can be a threat out of the backfield. In terms of maybe in the passing game as a release valve, as a check down guy, maybe a screen guy, or maybe a guy that you can line up and maybe get a mismatch on a linebacker or something like that, and use him in the passing game. But even more important than that, you want running backs that can step up and understand the pass protections and can step up and block the pressures the stunts. When they add extra guys to the rush, you need your back to be able to step up and stone a linebacker or something like that to keep the pocket clean for the quarterback. Understand the pass protections and be able to pick up the blitzes and things like that. That's important. So much of the pass protection, involves the back and also the tight end when he's in. Same thing with the running game. The running game, a lot of times is the tight end is involved in that, and the receivers, blocking downfield or maybe digging out someone in the box on a freak drill or something like that. Then with the runner, understanding the power of the play and being able to get to a hole that's there before it closes. So it's an all hands on deck effort, to be able to run the ball efficiently. Also with the quarterback getting us in and out of plays to make sure that we're running the ball where we should run it and getting out of plays where we shouldn't run it. But it's an all hands on deck effort to be able to run the ball efficiently. It's not just on, always just on the line, although that our offensive line, you need to impose your will on the other team, and you need to be able to move. You need to move a man against his will in the trenches, which requires strength, technique and fundamentals, and mental and physical toughness, durability and stamina to be able to do that for 60 minutes, 4 quarters in a game, and that's where we're looking to improve. I've already been through it. I think this might be the 9th time that I've been a part of a first year of a program, going back to high school with my high school coach, Kerry Hodakovic, and going to Wisconsin and Barry Alvarez's first year, going to Miami of Ohio with Terry Hepner his first year, going to LSU with Nick in his first year, going to Ohio State with Jim Tressel in his first season there. It just goes on and on. Going to Chicago with Mark Trestman in his first year, going to Georgia with Kirby in his first year, and going to Colorado a year ago in our first year there. It's a lot of similarities, so I know really what to expect, and so there's a process in place, and I know. I don't accept it, but I understand what's happening and what's going to happen, and I'm not surprised by very much. There's going to be some very, very disappointing times. There's going to be some frustrating times. There's going to be some times, when you're just totally outraged, and there's also going to be times when you can see that things are taking hold. You're always looking for the small victories, some things that you can see behind the scene that you don't necessarily see, out in the open that everyone else doesn't see. And those are things that, we're working to build upon, each and every day, hammering our culture. And everyone doesn't have a stomach for it. I happen to have a stomach for it. I actually enjoy it because I know once you get it turned and you get it the way you want it to be, there's nothing like that. So I do see the bright spots, and I do see there's in my world there's nothing worse than losing a football game, in my world. So, those things are unacceptable to me, even though I do understand, what goes into winning and losing and why you lose football games. If you turn the ball over, you don't possess the ball, you don't control the line of scrimmage. If you give up big plays on defense and you have penalties, foolish penalties, and things like that. You don't play complimentary football. If you play a good team, you're going to lose. Okay, and so those are things that I understand that. But as you recruit and as your culture, as you cement your culture, you get more consistent. You get consistency in performance, and you start to play at a higher level more often. That's when you have a better chance to beat good teams. And the goal is not to be able to just be able to win some games and beat mediocre teams. The goal is to build a program where you can beat really good teams, which puts you in a chance and gives you an opportunity to win your conference, and it gives you an opportunity to get into the playoffs. And once you're in, now you got a chance to win 2 games and win a national championship. So, that's part of the process. It is painful at times. It's also very gratifying at times. And so, this is what we're built for. This is what we're built to do.
Hey, Coach, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Rico.
Thank you. Hey, we're supposed to have Naquan Jones on the call here a little later. Can you talk a bit about his development? I guess we saw signs of what he could be last year in a reserve role, but obviously now he's more involved. Talk a little bit about him and what he's brought to the table so far this year and what you expect from him the rest of the way.
Yeah, Naquan is a guy a young man that I spent quite a bit of time with, one-on-one, just talking to him. Coach Burton does an outstanding job coaching him, has a good relationship with him. Naquan's he's a people person, and so he's obviously he's a big guy that's got tremendous talent. For his size, he moves very well. He's got initial quickness. He's got some strength, and so he's a guy that can do a lot of things. What I talk to him about on a consistent basis is, consistency and performance, and that's how you become successful, and it's, day in and day out, practice, weight room, all those things, and you carry it over into the game. And so, he wants to be a good player. He wants to be a consistent player. And I see him working towards that, and we're helping him do that, because our job is to teach, motivate, and develop. And, we're working to capture his mind so that he can get more out of our coaching and more out of our instruction and more out of our love and discipline. And that's going to help him, reach his full potential and help him be the type of player and the type of person that he wants to be off the field. So, he is a guy that I have, just like all these guys, a tremendous amount of caring for. We want to see him reach his full potential. So I'll be interested to see, how it goes with him when you talk to him and what he's got to say about that.
Tell me about the importance of the 2s and 3s getting that padded time, especially when padded time has been a premium during COVID.
Yeah, it's important we talked in the beginning we need to develop our entire roster. We owe that to our players, whether they're walk-ons or, scholarship guys, freshman guys, young guys, if they're in our program, it's up to us to develop them and get them as good as they can get, and so when we have opportunities to give them extra work, then we need to do that, and we need to schedule that and plan it and then make it happen. And we did that. And it's important because, players real players want to be coached, so if you put them in a situation where, the focus is on them, even though they're not starters, but the focus is on them and you're coaching them. And it's just as intense as the working with the wands, in practice, is just as intense. I mean, that goes a long way to helping their development. It goes a long way for us to be able to evaluate, and see, the progress a guy has made. And it's not like we don't see him every day. I mean, we see him every day on the scout team, but, it's one thing to read a card, on the scout team and look at a card and say, do this. It's another thing to just be out there on your feet and get a call and get lined up, get on your key and then play fast and key and diagnose and go make a play. There's a difference there. So it was very, very good work for us, and it was fun. Mm-hmm. It was fun. You get a chance to see guys compete.
No, that's good. And as a real quick follow-up, Coach, you talked about your yoga day. Is that something you picked up from your NFL experience, or where does that come in at, and how does that impact the players' mental toughness and mental health?
Yeah, I mean, we did, we did yoga in Chicago, and they have done yoga here in the past, and so there were a couple of players who asked if we could bring yoga back, and we worked to do that. So we've been doing yoga, for the entire season. But Sunday is usually our day off. And so other than treatment, everything else is voluntary. So even though we get quite a bit of participation in that stretch and stride and that yoga, with us, changing the schedule and making that a mandatory day, we're able to get 100% participation in the yoga. And it can't hurt. It can only help. And it's rest and recovery. Your body is your business. So it's sleep, it's nutrition, it's hydration, it's rehab, prehab, what you do in the weight room, strength and conditioning, and then any of the supplemental things that we can do for them in terms of yoga, or whatever else that we can come up with. That's all part of the development of the player, the student athlete. And those are resources that are available to them in a safe environment, in a relatively short period of time. So I think it's just a positive, and it's something that's just a part of our program, it's part of our process.